Hey everybody, welcome to episode. What is this now? I
Let's
think
go
this
with.
is 17
I was gonna go with
because
13, so I have no idea.
yeah, no, this is episode 17 of the Reptile Rejects podcast, and I haven't seen you in so long, Dominic. It's been a solid hour and a half.
It's been a lot has happened since then, actually. But yeah,
Yeah, so tonight we got on Clint Bartley from Metazotics and the Colubrid and Colubroid radio, and we'd like to hit a number of topics from colubrids to business to owning a pet shop and expanding that pet shop into two. So yeah, Dominic, anything new that's happened in the last hour and a half?
not that I know of. Actually, I've been setting up perches in my room. Really, nothing too exciting. I'm trying to go less naturalistic, which everybody loves to go naturalistic, but I want to have perches that are really high up that I can still clean, take out bins, take out hides, everything. So I'm actually going the full PVC pipe perches with holders on the side, and I've set up one or two cages. It looks freaking great, man. And they're just like a little maze on top, about 4 inches from the top, so that as the snakes go and perch, and like I'm making it so that it's almost ledges more than perch. Like I'll have one going, another one going. They're only about maybe 3 inches apart or something like that, so they can. Anyway, it's kind of cool because like it just optimizes cage space. Like that entire top space of the cages, majority of people like there's nothing going on in there, right? So I'm making it in a way that I kind of have the jigsaw puzzle. I can literally just lift it up off and take it out or put it back on. But the idea is to never have to remove them. And those little pipes don't get dirty or nothing like that. So I'm trying something new. We'll see. I set up two cages in that past hour and a half, so I probably have 50 more to go. So I'll just start with that, see how it goes, and I'll keep going slowly.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good way to utilize space and
So
kind
that's
of.
my 1.5 hour update because we just did a live just for fun to try it out and see how it goes. So it went
Yeah, I
pretty
think it
well
went
though.
awesome. It was
Yeah,
good
I'm
having
just curious
Shan
to see
on.
how good the quality is. Yeah, Shan was good shit. Agreed.
It sounded good.
Nice.
I think I'm gonna get it up after we finish recording this, and everybody should have something to listen to on the way to work tomorrow. So yeah, should be
Sure,
great.
because there's no
Nice.
other reptile podcasts out there. There's nothing to listen to, right?
You gotta spread them out throughout the week, or if you're
Yeah.
like me and sometimes have to listen to 12 hours of podcasts in a row, you kind of just slot them all in anyways and re-listen to a bunch.
It's kind of nice now because you can selectively pick what you want, right? You look at the titles and you're like, yeah, I'm definitely keeping that one. That one is ball
Yeah.
pythons. Goodbye, and keep going from there. All right. So, sorry, I had to put that in there.
Alrighty, Clint.
Well,
What's
yeah. No, go
what's
for
new
it.
with you this week?
This week it was basically kind of post Tinley get back to the swing of things, and it's funny because there's all this build up to that first there's Colubrid. Well, actually, we have kind of three big things in a row that we hit. It's our anniversary event in August. Then, as soon as we're done with that, we move to preparations for Colubrid Fest. And then as soon as that's done, within a few weeks, we're at Tinley, the Tinley Park in ARBC. And then, so I get back and, we're kind of playing catch up on everything. And, I look at the calendar and I'm like, we got 6 weeks till Black Friday. We're just, it's constant, just moving and preparing for the next event, so to speak. We're also getting to the time of year out here for me that it's 2026 prep where so like this past week, one of the things I was working on was mapping out what shows we're going to do in 2026, because it's funny, I'm both trying to increase the number of shows we do but decrease the number of shows I do. So it's trying to limit it to where I do no more than like one a month, but at the same time I want us to travel a little further out and start doing some of the other big shows instead of just the regional shows that we do. But I don't want to not do our regional shows because we're kind of like one of the mainstays, at these. So it's a balancing act, but yeah, that was one of my projects for this past week that I was tackling.
Yeah, I definitely see that being like a tough business decision in ways because I've heard how my buddies who do different aspects of the hobby and business wise,
Mm-hmm.
and they go all to all the shows up here. We got we actually got quite a few shows spread across the country. Like Alberta has 6 or 7 shows just in themselves. They actually have a pretty good reptile scene, and they actually, some of my buddies put on number of those shows that are really
Mm-hmm.
good. But yeah, no, they go actually, like Nelson from Tails and Scales, he did 6 or 7 shows in a row because he started off with Toronto. I think that might have been Colubrid Fest weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and they just had the last show in a row today for the the
Yeah.
next Toronto one, because all in between there, because he went down to Tinley, came to BC, did Edmonton, Winnipeg. It was just like a bunch of shows. It's a good thing he has a big shop where he can swap out animals and stuff, and he actually has a shipping company and that, so he can make
That
sure
helps.
everything's
Yeah,
good with that too. But
absolutely.
yeah,
You know, it was funny. We had 2 shows. I think it was a Lexington show. Yeah, so our Lexington, Kentucky show and our Evansville show, which is Evansville's the city I live in, and Chandler, which is where one of our shops is just east, like literally 5 minutes east of Evansville. And Henderson, where our second shop is, Henderson, Kentucky, is 5 minutes south of Evansville, Indiana. So those 2 shows were going at the same time, and that's when it really clicked how many available just snakes we have at the moment. Because after packing completely for both shows, where both shows were going to have full 3 tables each, I still had enough here to pack for another show if we needed to, and it didn't have to take a single thing off the floor. So I'm like, gosh, yeah, we need to move some more out, guys. We've got it's that peak season where everything has hatched,
oh yeah,
and everything. It's that nursery is packed. So
yeah. That sounds like my buddy Tyrone, his baby rack, when we were doing those shows, because I helped him out for all 3, just tagging along, and yeah, he's like, yeah, I have like 1,000 babies at the shop, and I'm still waiting on 8 Brazilian females ready to drop babies anytime.
Yep.
And the racks are all filled.
And then my problem on top of that is it's like then somebody will message me, and ask if I'm interested in, a clutch of this, clutch of that, clutch of this, and I'm like, well, I don't have those. So
Oh yeah,
yeah, and
those will sell well.
yeah, exactly. And so Corey, who runs my nursery, I feel bad for her, when she gets so excited if we sell 20 snakes at a show, and I'm like, yeah, there's
But here's the
24 coming Wednesday, so.
Yeah. Or you trade at the show, or however that
Oh,
sometimes works, right?
they know
You
there's
fill the box back up, and
yeah. Yeah, if it's a big show, she knows I'm coming home with something. I mean, it's going to happen. So
If the price is right, it's worth it, right? If you can pick
it
them up
is.
for really
Yeah.
cheap, it's So
yeah, and it's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go for it. Go for it.
I was going to say, and I mean, there's certain species that like I keep my eyes out, open for, because if, especially the big shows where you're having individuals coming from various regions of the country, there's certain things that are, when I say more popular, I don't mean more popular in they sell faster. I mean more people have them in different regions of the country, and because of that, they are used to them not selling as fast. Therefore, they will have different prices. Where something that is heavy on the west coast of the U.S., in the Midwest, we don't see them that often. So when I do see them, and it's a West Coast person that wants to just move them, let's chat, because I mean they're just not out here, and we make that happen. So.
Yeah, you're the kind of person I reach out to sell my animals.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thankful for that.
I'm thankful for people like you who are happy to do it, because yeah, I'm the one who wholesales to people like you who loves to sell one at a time and double up on my prices, and I'm perfectly okay with it.
And that's one of the things I've talked about is it's like when there's so many different niches within the industry, and I don't even mean by animal, just if you enjoy doing this, any part of it, when you're just honest with yourself about what you don't like or what you're not good at, you know what I mean? If you just be completely honest with it, then it'll help guide you to what part is best for you. There's, if you say, I love animals, but I hate people. Okay, then the sales side of it's probably not where you want to spend all your time, because it's people. It's all people. If you're like, I can handle a show here or there, but doing them regularly, if you're going to be the kind who has to sit behind the table instead of stand, if you're not going to talk to someone who's looking at the table unless they talk to you, then it's probably not going to be a great success for you. So, like you just said there, I mean, that's when you talk to people who will buy wholesale, and that way you still get to enjoy the hobby. You still get to enjoy the breeding aspect. You still make money doing it, and you make it a lot quicker than, the guys that are doing it one at a time, things like that. So that's great. I mean, and I love, especially when the individual, like you just said, is they know the next person is going to have to make, X amount of dollars off of it for it to be worth it for them, their time, their energy. If you're happy with what you're getting paid, because there's times in my life, I've wholesale, I still occasionally will wholesale. And you know what? I hope those people make 10 times what I sold it to them for, because if they're happy, they're going to come back for something else, So, best of luck to anybody who does it. So,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't hurt my
I find
feelings.
it cool how even like you'll wholesale to another guy that does the same thing that you do, whether it's a shop or
Mhm.
somebody like I'm guessing Josh Alder does something
Oh
similar where
yeah.
he imports, but he also probably buys people's clutches and stuff too. And it like I haven't had I've had issues. You have like an overabundance of like Brazilian rainbows or something, right?
Mhm.
And you sell him some, and then he sells you something or something else, and it all works out.
Josh and I have both wholesaled to each other on more than one occasion. The very first time I met Josh, he came and spent everything that he made at that show at my table, and we've been friends ever since. Apparently, that goes a long way. If you come spend all your money at my table, we're going to be
I
friends
could see
forever.
that.
Oh yeah.
But and it's funny because there's, speaking of Josh, I just told this story recently, and it's a Tinley story, and I thought it was hilarious because too often people within the hobby, the industry, they look at others as competition, and I have never viewed it like that at all. Now, I have viewed where, okay, if there's going to be 20 tables with the same thing on it, I don't really want to work with that. It's probably not my best interest, but I don't see any other breeders as competition, because even if we have, well, I guess first off, no two collections are the same. Period. No two collections have the exact same number of animals, kind of animals, without any variance. But even if two collections overlap 75% of the way, okay, some people would consider that individual a competitor. No, because if you have 75% of the same things I do, that means there's a good chance the other 25% that I have, you're probably going to like something in there too, because we obviously have similar interest, right? And so you're not a competitor, you're a potential customer. And it's, if you approach it with that mentality, it completely opens, everyone's a potential customer. No one, do you have to battle or bicker with. And a perfect example of that happened at Tinley with Josh Alder, because now Josh does a lot more with various reptile species than I do. But when it comes to snakes, when it comes to colubrids especially, we overlap a lot. I mean, we really, really do. And so at Tinley, if there's anyone who's going to have a table that looks like my table, it's Josh. Well, I was being interviewed by Megan, the Morph marketer. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her, but she's very strong in branding, and doing things like that with different companies. And she came over and she interviewed us at our table, and she asked me, so, what table besides yours here at Tinley would you tell me I really need to check out? If there's any other table to go look at, which table is it going to be? And I go check out Josh Alder's. at the Exotic Empire. He's always got a great spread. It's got some cool animals, and that's definitely who you're going to want to go check out. So here I am sending her to my number one competitor, right? She goes to Josh, doesn't say anything about, any other interview, talks to him, asks him the same questions that she asked me, goes through it. And then she says, so if there's any other table at Tinley that I should go look at, who should it be? And he goes, go check out Clint's over at Metazotics. He's always got a bunch of nice stuff. And I'm like, that was, to me, was the exact perfect example of how it should be, where it's not competition in any way. It's legitimately wanting one another to succeed, admiring what each other has. And I mean, we help each other anytime we can. So.
Oh yeah, I find variety at any show is key, honestly.
Yeah.
So I help out Tyrone at Canadian Mouse Man, and he breeds a good portion of what he sells, but he also brings in a lot of stuff I wholesale and stuff kind of thing. It's a bit of both. He has the stuff that he really likes to work with, and then he has the stuff that he knows moves pretty well, like tortoises, and he'll bring in corn snakes, but he has a lot of cool corn snakes there too, and he likes his Brazilians, and now he's getting into carpets, and
Nice.
So yeah, it's a good bit of everything. But yeah, no, it definitely seems like the variety, like you notice stuff on the table that sells every show in terms of variety, and then you got the leopard geckos. Like you need to have the nice, awesome looking leopard geckos that are in that $100 to $200 range that are great for beginners and people just getting into it, and they look fantastic now because leopard geckos look amazing. You don't need to settle for just a plain normal leopard gecko.
Right,
You're getting
right.
this bright orange and purple leopard gecko that anybody's going to want to take home, and those sell super well. Same with Pac-Mans, nice captive bred Pac-Mans and stuff like that. But then you got stuff like Brazilian rainbows that you might have higher on your table because they're more of a red line or something. And like when we went to Toronto, and there's tons of Brazilians all over there, and they are way cheaper than they were out west, kind of thing. We still sold one of the $500 ones. Like it's a yearling $500 bright red Brazilian, and the person could have gone over to somebody else and bought it for $200. But he saw the quality, and Ty sticks to his price, and it's great. Obviously, sometimes there's always some negotiating room in a lot of things, but just because somebody has it cheaper doesn't mean you don't want to stay with your fair market value kind of thing either. So
100%. I look at it as I will occasionally run show specials. Don't get me wrong, but I see vendors who set up without any prices on their animals, and then if they price them, it's after they've walked around to see what everyone else has their prices at, and then they price them. Nah, my prices are pre-printed on labels before I ever hit. It's going to be the same price that you see on our website. That's the same price you'll pay in our shop. And if it's any different at a show, it's because I've decided I don't need 20 of these. So I'll knock, whatever off, that I feel is appropriate for that particular show. But yeah, I also look at it too as I do my homework. Typically, whatever price I have something listed at, I am definitely a fair price, on it. And, there may be someone who's $25 cheaper at the show. Fantastic. I'm not going to, it's not worth my time to even get my pins out to try to fix that. I'm not doing it. There may be someone $25 more. I'm not going to try to squeeze another $25 out of somebody. I'm comfortable with my pricing typically, on anything. And if I've got a dozen of something and it's set for 6 months with no bites, time for me to reevaluate my pricing. Something, even if that's what they're listing for on Morph Market, or as people like to say, well, they're selling on Morph Market for $400. No, they're listed for $400. What something is listed for and actually selling for are two different things. Yeah. And but actually, right. But I'm not going to say that I don't utilize, Morph Market and other marketplaces for,
Yeah.
an idea of where things are falling right now.
It's a
But
decent
if I,
benchmark.
yeah, and like I said, if something is listed for 400, if there's 6 of them listed for 400, that's going to be a very solid price. If there's 150 of them listed for 400, probably going to end up coming down a little bit, that
Yeah.
season. So,
Yeah. So I'd love to go down another path. So you're talking about shows a lot,
mhm.
and I've always contemplated doing a show. I never have in the past 25, 30 years, and I'm pretty sure I know the why. But so you know the business side of things, and I'd love for you to explain, is it worth doing a show? And here's my thought. Like, I'll give you my situation, and then you can kind of give me your experience. But so I deal with Shan, which is my competitor, which my competitor breeds 90% of all the same things I do. So what I did instead is
He's your business partner.
uh, we put our list together and sell everything together, right? So we
Nice.
probably have around 300-ish animals, 250-ish, give or take a year to sell. We tend to wholesale a lot, and because it's just easier. And I don't love people. That being said, I like talking to people at face-to-face in a show situation. Texting 40 people for one person to actually pull the trigger and 39 to ghost me after the 70th question is not fun. So what does it take to run a show? Is it financially worth it? And how many animals do you need to sell? All that kind of stuff. Because I always debated, like, if I went to a show, do I bring 30 animals? Do I bring 100? Do I bring all 300? And like, I hear so many different things. Some people say, well, I only sold 10 animals. I only sold this. Then you got to price in the table. You got to price in the electricity. You got to price in your equipment. You got to price in your time, your drive, your lodging, all that kind of shit. I go through all that and I'm like, it's just not worth it. Like, in my head, I just don't see it as a financially worth it thing for me, because I have about, myself 100 and 150 animals for sale a year. But I've always wondered, because I've always been like, it'd be fun though. I probably would break even and waste a lot of time, but it'd be fun. But I don't think I'd make that much money because I can sell them from home. So I'll give you the floor. Just kind of speak about that, because I know a lot of people probably thought of doing the shows and are like, yeah.
So I will tell you that one, the last thing you said there is something you really do have to take into account. If I enjoy it, I have fun doing the shows. I really do. The setup sucks. The breakdown sucks. All the pre-work on packing, all the label generation, everything leading up to it sucks. But it's almost like being on a professional sports team. Practice and all that sucks, but they love playing the game. And that's kind of what this is, at the show, it's showtime. It is fun. So that's definitely a piece. There's also some other things to take into account. There's a difference between doing a show and doing that show multiple times. Because I will say one of the reasons that I don't really want to give up our regional shows that we do is because, again, people know we're going to be there. There's times where it's 3 shows deep that they have been saving to get this particular species that they know Metazotics is the only one who has it. Because there's things we work with that, they're not going to see in person anywhere else. And so I know that it's kind of like a rapport that gets built, over time at some of these shows. As far as it being financially feasible, and I'm going to try to break down a lot of these, different segments for you. It's a toss up, because there's one show that currently I have zero expense doing. Just to give a little background, the second shop that we opened, actually there's 2. Anyways, the second shop that we opened, I bought out an existing reptile shop, closed it down, revamped everything, turned it into a Metazotics. Well, that individual is who runs some of the shows in our immediate area, all the shows in our immediate area. One of which is a monthly show in Evansville. Well, part of our agreement with this buyout was we get so many tables at no charge at their shows for an extended period of time. So I could do any of those shows, and really the only thing we're out would be gas, would be If it's a show that's a couple hours away, lunch and whatever that I'm in, the hourly amount that I pay, the associates who are running it. So the cost is very, very little, especially Evansville, because it's a 20-minute drive from the shop. So I don't have to do nearly as much for it to be successful. But we do that one because we're passing out flyers to the shops all day long. That's the whole reason I want to do it, is driving traffic into the actual store. So we have shows as little as that. Then there are shows that table fees, I may be looking at $150 for 3 tables, $200 maybe. And if I want a hotel, there's another $150. Your gas back and forth. So expenses can be anywhere from, I'm going to say roughly, for me, and if I'm traveling, $450 upwards of, when we're talking a Tinley weekend, I might be spending closer to $2,000 on that weekend. But I'm paying for multiple hotel rooms. I'm paying for expensive dinners. I'm paying, there's the table fees are astronomical. I mean, so there's going to be a good amount there. But yes, it's a much more expensive weekend at Tinley, but sales are significantly higher at Tinley, where at the Evansville show, I have no expenses, but we don't do as much, not nearly as much, in revenue. So, that's going to be another factor, is what show are you doing, and whether or not you'll be profitable. So if you're looking at doing one, the first thing I would tell you is go to that show. Go to that show a couple times so that you can get a feel for what's there. What animals are you seeing there? And it's not like, oh yeah, here, this table has what we're working with, so we shouldn't do that. No, it's, are there 24 tables that have what you're going to bring on it? Then it's like, then I'm going to kind of, I'm going to struggle a little bit, because it's already represented so heavy, and I would be the new face. So if you're going to do that, you have to stand out. What's going to make you stand out in the crowd? And if the answer is price, you're not going to last long, if that's the only thing that you can differentiate yourself with is price. So first, do your homework. What does the show actually look like? And, are you going to will you be different there? Or at least, will you not be in a flooded market for what you're working with? So after looking at that, as far as what you bring, for me, you want to bring a presence. So even the shows that I'm like, okay, colubrids are, that's always going to set us apart. We have to have this huge table, of colubrids, but we still are going to have to bring ball pythons, because I know that's what sells at this particular show. That moves a little heavier. I'm still going to bring this powerful array of colubrids, because that's what brings everyone over to the Metazotics tables, because no one else has this, what they're going to see there. And except maybe Josh Alder, right? But so that's it, is make sure that you're going to bring enough that your table is full, but not crowded. You want it to still be shoppable, to where it's not difficult to distinguish what they're looking at, because they're in a sea of snakes. But it has to, if you only have 8 animals on your table, it's hardly worth stopping at your table, so fill it, make sure it's full. If you have 20 of the same thing, if it's something cool, bring 10 of them. Because what it also tells an individual walking by is, that person right there must know about this species. They know what they're doing with them, because they have this many of them right here. It's, I mean, like, if you're looking for a crested gecko, you typically don't buy a crested gecko off the table that has 2 crested geckos. and a smorgasbord of everything else. You buy it off of the person that's got 2 tables full of crested geckos, because you're not choosing out of what's left. You're actually getting selection to pick from. So bring a presence of whatever it is that you're bringing. Also, is it carpets that you said that you work with?
Yeah, mainly Morelia and yeah, let's go with that.
Okay, I asked because how you display them makes a difference whenever it comes to species and the general mentality of the public. So, for example, ball pythons, you want to display them in display cases, not in deli cups, because the ball python shopper, they are looking for investment value, is kind of how they see it. So they want that animal to look like it is investment quality based off how it's displayed. Now, it's funny though, they want it to be in a display case, but they also want to feel they got a discount when they got it. So they got it at a great price. So it's, if you have your ball python and if you're going to mark it down, if you put a slash through the regular price and put your markdown price, it's exciting. But they don't want them in deli cups, because ball pythons in deli cups undervalue what it is in their mind. And it seems like it's more of a flipper in their mind if it's in a deli. And so it just seems like it's lower quality. Colubrids, on the other hand, just the opposite. With colubrids, you want those in deli cups. I'm not beating up anybody who does something backwards from what I'm saying. It's your table. But it is a different personality and mentality when it's a colubrid shopper versus a ball python shopper. So with a colubrid shopper, if you have your snakes in a display, one, they either think that you have them overpriced because you're spending all this money on these fancy display cases and all that. You're probably charging me more on the snake to make up for it. Or two, you'll see people who will have 5 or 6 of the same of a clutch. Let's say, they'll have a clutch in one compartment, which means you can't tell me when this particular snake ate last or how many meals it had, because you've got them all together. You can't tell one from the other. So they don't like that. Instead, they want them in deli cups. They want to be able to pick them up, look at them without having to get them out and squeeze them and squeal them or whatever. So it's funny because it's just a different mentality by the shopper. So for Morelia,
Can I stop you before you say it?
yeah.
Okay, I want to tell you what I would do, and I want you to judge me on it. So what I would do is I would put all, let's say, the carpet pythons in deli cups, but only because they look like shit as babies, and it doesn't really matter that much. And I would bring one adult of each representation or something nice and put that one in the display. So that's
Perfect.
how I would do it in my head, but only because a gray, muddy snake as a baby looks like shit compared to a nice, beautiful, let's say, yellow and black jungle as an adult, right?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
that's
100%.
that's what I would do in my head. But keep going.
You're right, and it's with Morelia. It kind of goes in 2 different directions, kind of depending on the species. So if it's carpets, then just what you said is what I would do. I would put carpets in delis. I would do my best to show adults. I personally never have the room to bring adult colubrids, but if you've got the room to bring some adult examples of the
A
carpets,
2-year-old, that's pretty.
yeah, I mean that's going to be fantastic because it goes such a long way. Now, do you work with chondros at all?
I don't actually. Just about everything else, but not chondros.
Gotcha, because that's one that you want to fancify for sure. To me, the best way to display, you can display your chondros in a display with a perch, but there are smaller acrylic like containers that if you display them in there on the perch, that you just hand the acrylic, take it and go. If they purchase that looks much better because they actually are seeing the snake perch. It's not being, bothered by being handled and things like that. So, So yeah, those two I would go a little bit different. But for carpets, yes, I would completely go in deli because they're different. It's again, typically if someone's buying a carpet, unless they are, unless their eye has been caught by an adult you have on your table, if it's just somebody who's walking by, they know what they are. It's, you don't get a whole lot of, I guess, impulse buys on carpets from someone who doesn't know what this carpet is. Because to your point, as babies, they tend to be drab. They turn into some stunning animals. So they already have to know what that adult looks like for them to be interested in searching for it. So they're not looking for the carpet. People aren't going in there thinking, if I buy 24 of these, I'm going to become a millionaire in 4 years. Like some of the ball breeders, think that's what's going to happen. So yes, that's exactly how I'd handle it. But
You mean I won't be a millionaire?
if you figure out how, you tell me.
Damn it.
So, but make sure you have great lighting. You want, purchase the lights. So on your table, don't trust that the overheads are going to be enough. You want to spotlight your table and make sure that it's really going to stand out. Keep it clean, completely clean. Have a nice, if you're not going to buy a like branded table banner, which is perfectly fine, make sure it's a nice clean tablecloth that completely covers everything. And stand up, get your asses out of the chairs, stand up and talk to people as they're walking by. Say hello. Doesn't have to be anything great, just a simple, hey, if you have any questions, let me know. Happy to help. Because when you're sitting behind the table, arms folded, not talking, it's just turning people off from the table right away. So if you've never done a show, I would absolutely recommend to give it a shot. I mean, you may be out a little money if it doesn't go well. I don't know what the shows, what shows you're looking at or what they're like up there, but it's to the point where, I mean, like right now, if I do everything on our list, we're doing over 40 shows next year. So it can be worth it.
See, like here, there is a show in Ottawa once a year, and honestly, it sucks. It's got 15 tables, and it's not worth going to. And people tend to just go there for the cats and the dogs. But the show in Toronto, which is 4.5 hours from me, is the biggest show, and it's big. It's worth it. They have monthly show, but there's one huge show a year.
Gotcha.
My thing though is for a person who doesn't do it, man, like the initial expense is it's expensive, and
Yeah.
that's what makes it not worthwhile to be. Sorry, I'm gonna cough.
Yeah, I think that Toronto show is, from what it sounds like, people actually don't vend that big Toronto show a lot of the time that do vend those other monthly Toronto shows. Because that table price is $700 without table renting fee for one table.
Yeah, which is insane
Without
for
a
one
table.
table.
That's because I mean
Yeah.
Tinley's like $350 for a table.
I think
Plus
it's
your
it's like $250 for the other monthly show. That's like a 1 day show. So that's like you won't see the same vendors. Yeah, no. It's there's a lot of shenanigans that I think goes on a little bit, but it's definitely a big expense, and I know like that's why it's Tyrone and Greg, they only get like 1 or 2 tables to go to that show, and they just try to maximize it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's. I mean, again, Tinley is the most expensive that we typically do, and it's like $350 for the table, $150 for electricity. So I mean, you're pushing, you're $500 right there. And
That's 700 for
I
us.
say, oh yeah, gotcha. So I mean, and I'm still wanting a second table. I'm pushing every year to try to get a second. I would go up to a third, because my problem right now with Tinley is I only have one freaking table, and we're used to doing 3 tables, and a lot of times we have even more past that. And so like at Tinley, all I bring is colubrids. I bring nothing else but colubrids because I don't have a lot of space, and this is going to be what differentiates us the most from anyone else in Tinley. But I want 2 or 3 tables so I can bring diversity, so I can bring neuromastics, so I can bring, I want more than just snakes, and because diversity is the key. Is and I try to preach that. And anybody who asks, the reason that I've only ever been skunked at one show ever of all the shows we've ever done. And that one I will legitimately say was a bad show, or just, I mean, across the board for everybody, not just us. But so often I kind of feel bad for others because I know they've had a terrible show and we didn't. We don't. Tinley, great guy who's right across the aisle from us. He's a ball python breeder. He didn't sell a single animal all weekend, and we had another great show. And it's typically because we bring as much diversity as we can, because you kind of never know what is going to be popular at that show on that day, what individual is going to be walking by and decides they want this or that. And so the more that you can have diversity, the better off you are. But it's funny because I'll say the exact opposite. If you are able to specialize at the same time, that helps, because, okay, so yeah, we may set up with a table of colubrids, a table of balls and boas, and some carpets. We may also have a table of various gecko species, Euromastics, green-keeled lizards, and all this variety. But what is Metazotics known for? Colubrids, and Asian rat snakes. And so it's like we've got our specialty that people are drawn to us, but I don't just hang my hat on that and think that that's going to always carry us where we need to go. We've got to be smart about it, and frogs and everything. We bring it all. So when we can do that, if anybody's going to have a good show, it's going to be us. Is kind of how I try to look at it. And if we bomb, my guess is just about everybody else bombed too. Except the feeder guys. They do well at every freaking show.
Oh, yeah.
So,
do you find setting up, say, the Euros and tortoises and stuff, and maybe some tanks instead of deli cups seems to work better? Because that's what we generally do. Like, I actually have a couple tanks that I keep at my house just for when Ty comes out here. We can set up a couple 10 gallons with some substrate and heat lamps and feed them some veggies through the show, and then people can kind of see the tortoise or the Euromastics doing what they normally do, kind of thing.
Oh yeah, that's exactly how we set those up. And I mean, plus it's, and luckily the podcast that, with Colubrid and Colubroid Radio, I get to talk enough that people have kind of learned me, a lot out there, that because whenever I talk so much business, I've always been afraid of being labeled as he's just in it for the money. And I'm telling you, that can't be further from the truth. To understand what I walked away from to do this full time is, I am not in it for the money. Believe me. Okay. But like for Euros, I mean, I wouldn't want to put them in a deli because those guys need some serious heat to keep them, it's hot. They need to be hotter than dragons. And so, yeah, I mean, we're going to set them up not only in a 10-gallon aquarium, but they're going to have a strong heat bulb on them the entire weekend. Our Euromastics are going to be active. They're going to be moving. Yeah. People are going to see that they're healthy. Our tortoise enclosures are going to have fresh veggies in it, and so it's, we're going to make sure that whatever species that we are putting out there, that they're still getting proper care during, that weekend. In fact, and whenever I find that we're having problems, I'm big enough to say it and to seek help. So one of the things that we were finding is when we would take frogs to shows, we would have death. And it was every time. I mean, we're talking frogs that could be in our care for 3 months with no problems. We take them to shows. I'd take 10 of them, 3 of them would die. And so clearly there's something we're doing wrong in the transportation and in the setup process. And so I talked to Josh Alder, because he takes frogs all the time. I'm like, man, what am I doing here that we need to change? And, we basically discovered that even if the deli cup liner, and if everything looks clean, change it every day, no matter what. Every day, no matter what, because they're urinating in there. You may not be able to see it. It's the toxins. That's what's happening to you. Do that, get them good water again, and you shouldn't have any problems. So it's, again, I have no problem admitting whenever we're screwing something up, because I can't find out how to fix it if I don't voice that there's a problem. So,
Oh yeah,
um,
that's what we did. The last show I did in Edmonton, me and Ty's kid Hendrix went and had to go spend half an hour changing all the White's Tree Frog and Pac-Man
mm-hmm.
waters in the
Yeah.
bathroom.
Yep, exactly. And it's it's little things like that that'll help keep you successful. So, um, if it's all carpets that you're taking, then make sure you take as much variety in your carpets that you can. The Irian Jayas, coastals, whatever the Jags, whatever you want to have a spread. It's, I guess, walk into it with the mentality that if you're going to have a carpet table, you're going to have the carpet table. No one else is going to have a spread like what you're bringing, and people will notice. Whenever you make a powerful presentation like that.
Especially if he has rough scales on his table next to him.
Oh yeah. Nice.
That would be cool.
One can hope.
Even inlands would be pretty neat seeing that on the table.
I don't know. Believe it or not, I'm the first person that I know of, and I'm pretty sure the only person in Canada that's ever produced inlets. Okay, they're not that hard, awesome. But I'm pretty sure I'm the only one. I've not had one person hit me up with interest. I just want to put it out there. That just shows you how it's just a different market. People just don't know about them. Don't even, barely anybody knows they exist. I'm wrong. I haven't put them for sale because they were horrible feeders, and I'm just getting them started. And, Shan is, but that doesn't matter. The goddamn... They wouldn't eat, so I sent them out to him because he's got access to live everything, and he's good for that. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with that, but see, to me, if I was to do a carpet table, I feel honestly like I haven't done it because I feel like it wouldn't be worth it. I feel like people know me enough to know that if they wanted, they could reach out to me. So
the carpet people do.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the challenges I would give you is, and I'll give you an example here locally. Now, given this is a shop example, not a show example, but no one in this area, or at least very, very, very few, cared about dart frogs. There was no dart frog market here. So it was one of the things I'm like, you know what? We're going to kind of set out to do that. Now, it wasn't just getting dart frogs in. It was all the bioactive supplies. We built bioactives that people could just buy and take. And we have now, in this area, we have created a dart frog market, which also means the fruit flies every week that they sell, that, all the residuals from that. But it took time. And that's where one of the things I would tell you is that if you were doing a show or a series of shows regularly, you would start creating a carpet market that didn't exist before, simply because you were there. Now, whether or not you'd want to put the time, the effort, and the expense into doing that, that's a fair argument. It's just, I can tell you that because let's face it, you guys, it's no secret. I don't care what country you're in. 85% of our shows are occupied by one species. Right? 85% of the tables. And so for me, there's certain shows I've gone into the market, and while, we're different, we have stuff that they don't have, and we may be successful, but we may be successful because 3 people bought from us, but they spent a good amount of money because no one else had what we had, but only 3 people. But being that we're there every month, or there's only one show I do monthly, but every few months, you still get the same crowds that are coming through, and people are they're coming to the table every time and telling, every time, I just love looking at this. And eventually it's okay. Now it's 6 people who are buying every time you're there. Now it's 9 people that are buying, and so it does increase because we've established the market. We started to create one where there wasn't one before. And it was because, just like we're getting a little tired of seeing the same thing at the shows, so are a good chunk of the rest of the people walking through them. So when you have something a little different, you do start catching the eyes. They just may not be prepared to bite the first time they see it.
And that one species you're talking about is Asian water monitors, right?
Exactly. They're
Yeah.
everywhere.
All right. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same table, same place there.
Now, I have to say, for anybody who's listening to this, it's inevitably, especially being the Colubrid guy, yes, it sounds like I give shit to ball pythons all the time. But at the same time, I've got a whole room full of them. They do well for me every year. And I will also say I'm incredibly grateful for the ball python because this hobby would not exist to the degree that it does today. When you think about the cages you have behind you right now. Think about the rack systems that are in play.
Yeah.
Would all of this exist if the ball python money and market didn't exist? So
yes and
we
no.
have to be thankful.
It definitely goes a long way. That being said, man, I'm sorry. I will shit on ball pythons. I've started my first my first snake or two was a ball python in the 90s when there was only wild. It's just it's too much. Like going to a show and all you see is table after table, and I'm literally just and sometimes I'm like, they're cool, they're gorgeous, but just you if I was the person hosting the show, I would put a limit on it. I'd be like, what are you selling? We can only have a maximum of 25% of table. And I get it. The person hosting is like, well, why would I do that when I can have an extra 40 tables? Right? That's just income to him. But to me, I don't know. I'm tired of it. Like every show is just that. It's annoying. It's just.
Yep. So I will tell you that is happening. And I don't know if it's happening up there yet, but there's a lot of our big shows that are sold out. Like you can't get a table. You're on a waiting list for table. Literally for 5 years, I've been trying to get a second table at Tinley and can't. And they now the same thing. If a ball python breeder falls off, they will not replace them with another ball python breeder. They are continuing to try to diversify. In fact, there's a show that's been, it's a new one, but it's gained a lot of popularity and has grown very quickly in Georgia. And the promoter of that show was it's a ball python individual. That's what all this individual breeds and is very well known for it. They happened to be near the table, and I said, hey, I want to chat with you about the show. I'm thinking about coming down and vending, and I wanted to talk about the Colubrid laws, because that's one of the things that I do have to be very cognizant of are what are the laws in the different states here in the U.S. So I know what I can bring, what I can't bring, what permits I have to bring this or that, and it can get a little hairy. So talked to him about that for a moment, and I was like, well, do you have any spots open in February? That's when their next show is. And I said, I didn't know if you're full. He's like, well, we're sold out of tables, but what do you work with? And I said, take a look. He looked over and I said, it's mainly colubrids, a lot of, Asian stuff. And he looks at the table and he says, we'll make room for you. We want what you have out there. It's instant. So that's what I'm saying is there is those who are the show promoters that are cognizant of the direction that the industry is going and the perception that the overall market is now having. They are starting to limit that. They are paying attention. And it's one of the reasons why, like Mickey, who we partnered with for Colubrid Fest from the Show Me Reptile show, that's the largest reptile promotion in the US by number of shows. He doesn't have the super large shows like Tinley. He's got some very successful ones, but it's not like that. But he has the most across the United States. And I remember the very first, and this was 10 years, 15 years ago, at least 15 years ago, if not longer. The very first time I spoke to Mickey, it was to ask about one of his shows. I was potentially going to look at vending. And I, said, hey, I want to see if you have tables available for your St. Louis show. And his very first reply to me was, what do you work with? Because even back then, he was cognizant of trying to make it a reptile show, not a ball python show. But I'm also, when we talk about ball pythons, yes, I'm with you. I'm tired of seeing that many. It's like anything else. We talk about sports teams. We're fine with a sports team until it keeps winning. When it keeps winning and keeps winning, suddenly they start getting, hated. And I'm just cautious because there are a lot of really good people that breed ball pythons that are, they're good. They do it. They love it. And I don't like shitting on anything that people could be passionate about. But I will also say that particular niche does have the greatest degree of individuals who have gotten into it just because they think they're going to become wealthy by getting into it. There's no doubt about that. There's no argument. Even those in that segment will agree with that statement. It's just I don't like to dismiss everything that the ball python boom has actually done for the industry because of the enormous amount of money that's been dumped into it because of them. There's so many products we couldn't even dream of having if ball pythons didn't exist.
It was funny. The one time I went out to Ty's shop in Alberta, and I was just hanging out there, helping him with stuff because I spent the week there or whatnot. And while I was there, there's a couple of people that call the shop because you can ring them up kind of thing, and they're local people that want like ball pythons. And he doesn't even have ball pythons listed on his site mostly, but he sells them. But what's interesting, what he does though, is there's 2 reptile shops in this kind of smaller town in Alberta, and he'll be like, okay, yeah, I'll sell that to you for this, but you need to buy it from one of these 2 shops. So he forces local people to buy through either one of the local reptile shops, and then so they can get their cut, and they also get supported. So he
that's
tries
awesome.
Not to, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, really he has a like 1 rack of ball pythons still of Lucy's GHI stuff, and like kind of like the stuff that impides, like the stuff that you're not throughout the year he'll sell all the babies kind of thing, and it's people want them, so you might as well.
They still do, yeah.
Have a couple of them, but then he also has like black milks and black pines and tons. He loves his Brazilians now, so he got the hypos and the different colors of that. So it's definitely like neat to see how like you with the Asian stuff and the black rat snakes as well, that what you're kind of known for as Clint Bartley is all that fun stuff, and that's what people still come to you for.
It's sometimes it's funny when it comes to the black rat snakes. I've joked before where I think I'm given more credit than what's due. It's we've grown it to, because I co-own a lot of black rat snakes with Matt Most from Sarpamitra, and I think that at this point we probably have the largest collection of mutations and mutation combos of black rats out there. At least those, we have the biggest mouth, I guess, when it comes to them, because there may be somebody out there that's got more and I just don't hear them. They don't post or something. But it's funny because there are times like in the black rat snake group on Facebook, someone will post a black rat snake morph and kind of ask what it is, and there'll be 2 or 3 comments of their opinion on what it is, and then I'll give my opinion on what it is, and it's like that's the end of the conversation. Like, oh, then that must be what it is. And I'm like, guy, I'm just telling you that's what I think it is. You know what I mean? It's, you guys may have a better take on it than I do, but I think it's just kind of become something that people look at me for, is like the expert on them, and I just look at it as I'm one of the people, just one of them out there that really like the species and pays attention to it. So there's a lot of very strong black rat snake people out there that are doing great things. But I'll tell you what, at Tinley I just talked to one. His name's Dwight, who, one of the things I'm trying to do with black rat snakes is create a page that will show what a baby of this morph looks like and what an adult looks like, because that's a question that I get all the time. What does this look like when it's adult? Or, hey, I just hatched these out. What the hell are they? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it's the biggest battle. They all look alike, when they first hatch. But I want this page, but instead of just having these pictures, I want the history. I want to know where that morph came from, who found it, was it raining that day? What's the story? You know what I mean? Just what's the story behind this morph? And coincidentally, I spoke to this guy, Dwight, and he's big into black rat snakes. And He was a wealth of knowledge. I mean, he had so much information that I did not know the backstories on some of this. And in fact, he even told me, here's this book that you need to go get that's got some of this, old history in it, and you'll really want to check this out. And then coincidentally, that damn book was at the auction at Tinley that night. And so I outbid Dwight for it. And I've got that book. He let me outbid him because he said he already had 2 copies. So, but yeah, it's, again, it's one of those things where it's nice to be known for that. But I think there's a lot of brilliant minds out there that, are just as strong, if not better than I am on them.
Oh, for sure. There's definitely I don't know of anybody that breeds black rat snakes up here. Like I know Ty has some Lucy, Texas, but I think my friend might have just gotten albino, like a 22-year-old albino rescue through our club. But I don't really know of anybody breeding black rat snakes up there. I'm sure they pop up occasionally because maybe one of the big guys goes down to Tinley or something or Daytona and brings back some of them with them. But
the problem is
it'd be cool to see more of them up here.
They're protected. So you're
talking about
they're protected in Ontario.
That's why. So Ontario is the biggest. It's probably the state with the most amount of population, and a lot of the breeders are here because it's just
and the
bigger.
Exporters,
the exporters, the importers, the big show is here, all that, right? So, but that being said, we can find black rat snakes here about half an hour from my house, and they are 100% protected. You are not allowed to legally own them. Doesn't matter what morph or anything like that is. It is 100% illegal for, as far as I know, all of Ontario. So it's a native species. So it's a no-go species. So for that reason, you never ever see them at shows.
So we actually run into a lot of that here in the States, because what a lot of the state laws will say is that you can own, sometimes you can't own, sometimes you can, but a lot of them say you can't sell native species to the state. And the black rat snake has such a wide range, and it also depends on what they are currently classifying it as, because, with the taxonomic shift that occurs, and don't even get me down that path because it's, some of them, whether it's a gray rat snake, black rat snake, it's very muddy on, what you don't want to take a chance. You don't want to take a chance. And plus, if they run any kind of DNA, I mean, at this point in the hobby, with the way that the regions and the ranges have shifted because of the taxonomic shifts, it's going to have various blood in it anyway. And so, it's going to be a hybrid in their mind. So it's very iffy on what you can and can't do. The state that I am in, I can own normal black rat snakes if I want. I can't sell them unless I have a breeder's license and we pit tag the babies, and it's just a whole hassle. It's not worth it. However, we can have morphs of any natives. So that's why I can do all the black rat combinations and all that, because those are legal for me to sell. But there's several other states where it doesn't matter if it's, and it's not even like it's an endangered species or threatened anywhere, because I mean, they're so heavily prolific out here. But but there's many states that's just flat out no natives, period. So we run into the same things with black rat snakes. And I mean, they're extremely heavy here. I mean, hell, I caught one in our mouse room here at the shop, a native one that just came from outside like 4 weeks ago. So, I mean, they're all over the place.
So just by curiosity, if it's legal only to have the morph, what happens when you produce a het that is visually normal? What's the...
we are allowed to gift.
Okay, so that's what you do to them?
Yeah, so I can gift them. I can give them away. I just can't sell them.
Are you allowed to ship them in another state and then sell them there?
Not if you're selling them. No, I can gift them to someone out of state, but I can't. If you do anything with the intent of selling them, you're breaking the law, and they'll come at you.
Yeah, because I could see you trying to do I don't know, producing hets or double hets to produce the double visual, and having all these possible heads or anything that is visually a normal animal, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know, like you're stuck with those, or obviously.
Yeah,
So
it's luckily there are enough people out there that, I mean, if I phone someone up and go, "Hey, I've got these project black rat snakes, you want them?" Yeah, okay, cool. You'll have them tomorrow. I'll shoot them out, and they're fine with that. And um, it's because if I've got animals like that, I've produced something in that clutch that I'm wanting. So I've got my holdbacks, and I'll just let somebody else have the project too, because it's not such a high dollar animal that, oh, I don't want anybody else having this. No, it's whatever it is I'm shooting for. If somebody else gets it first, cool. Now I get to see what it looks like, because that's what I'm after. It's just playing with it. So that's not really an issue for me. It's not a problem. There's always somebody who wants them. Somebody will take them. Um, and like we have, so, okay, that same law applies to bull snakes in Indiana. We can do any morph, no problem, but you can't sell normals. But I know I'm going to end up with normals. And there's also a normal black rat snake doesn't have a lot of value in the United States. You're talking like a $20 animal, $30 animal. It's not worth me even messing with. Where a bull snake, even a normal bull snake, maybe $100, something like that. Well, luckily, we have our second shop is in Kentucky, so just outside of Indiana. Bull snakes are not native to Kentucky. So while we're building this Pituophis collection, the bull snakes will most likely be housed in Kentucky, so that whenever we do breed them, if we do have normal heterozygous animals that are produced, I can legally sell them out of that shop, and I can ship them out of that shop. We just can't do that in Indiana. And I can't have them in Indiana, transfer them to Kentucky, and then sell them, because I'm still breaking their law by doing that. So, but I can move the adults over there before they ever have babies. Then if they have babies, that's a different story. So,
Is Kentucky's native laws, like, would you be able to do the same thing with the black rats or no?
black rats are
Are their
native.
native laws a bit different there though?
They're
Or
the
you can
same
only
thing.
keep 5 or something like that?
It's something like that, and it's same thing. You can keep. So there's a different, like, the laws are often where you can keep them in certain states, but you can't sell native species in the state.
Okay.
So we even have, so to go from Indiana to Kentucky to do a show, which we do, you have to have a transportation permit, where you have to have all the animals you're taking from Indiana into Kentucky. You have to have that permit, and you have to have that every time, a different permit every time, unless the way we now go about it is you can do a yearly. It's a one-time like payment for a year. You have to put every species that you may potentially transport, but it's only for one destination. So for us, everything goes to our Henderson, Kentucky location. So we have one permit from this shop to that shop. So then every Kentucky show that we do gets loaded up from that shop and then goes, because that's now covered under our transportation permit by us going that route. So it's interesting, and where we live, I literally live on a tri-state. So I mean, I'm where Indiana, Illinois, and Kentucky touch. So, and Tinley's in Illinois, and same thing. If you're taking bull snakes, I have to have a permit up to go do that, and the black rat snakes. So it's.
Oh yeah, how does that work? So Tinley, are you allowed to sell hognose at Tinley?
You have to have a permit to do it.
Okay, but you can't sell them to people in Illinois.
You
Or how does
can,
that
but
work?
then they have to get a permit to keep them.
Okay,
So
that
what we
makes
have to
sense.
do as sellers is we have to get a permit, and then we have to provide a receipt to anyone who purchases. We have to have their contact information, and then within a certain amount of weeks after the end of the show, we have to submit the list of everyone that everything we sold, everything we brought back, and who the individuals were that we sold those particular protected species from. Sorry.
I feel like that's just a deterrent. Like that would make me stop producing and selling that species there. It's just too much of a pain in the ass.
It can be, but it's also, and that's how most will look at it. Now, the DNR individual that makes these laws, who's decided all of it, there are other states where you flat out can't do it. You can't own them, you can't sell them, you can't buy them. So for him, and this is a discussion he and I had, for him, he wanted to put this in place so that it could happen, so that people can sell these here, so that individuals who live here can own them. They just have to go through these channels because he wants that to be available, but he also at the same time has a duty to protect their native wildlife from being collected. So this to them was a middle ground, and in the grand scheme of things, it's not that bad. I'd still prefer that over Ohio. Ohio, you can't have black rat snakes no matter what mutation. I mean, Ontario, you can't have them no matter what. Where it'd be nice if you had this permit system, wouldn't it? I mean, it's like $25. So I mean, it's
No, it makes sense.
works.
I think in Ontario you can keep some native stuff. Like I think people can keep like garter snakes and that for some reason.
I don't think so. As far as I know, all indigenous species are banned.
Yeah, that'd be the
I'm
same
pretty
as here.
sure
Then we're not allowed to keep anything native either.
And it doesn't even just apply to
Plus
like reptiles.
some
Like
other stuff.
can be like your raccoons. You can't keep a raccoon. You can't keep a fox. You can't keep a striped skunk. You can't keep any of those. Like if you want a skunk, you'd have to go get like a Russian spotted skunk, right? That would be legal in Ontario, but you can't keep a striped skunk. You can't go to the States and
you can
buy
go keep a tiger.
Honestly, yes. Like I'm not kidding. Like I can't in Ottawa because there's a bylaw, but I can move 30 minutes outside of Ottawa and I can keep a venomous snake. I can keep a Komodo dragon. I can keep a tiger legally. But in Ottawa, where our bylaws prevent all that, the only non-native animals banned in all of Ontario are whales, which I don't know who keeps whales in captivity. So I'm really not that worried. I think the big cats they've been talking about banning all big cats. I don't know if it's happened yet or not.
You guys might get a positive list or something eventually. Like it's in the framework, but
they've been talking about it. But yeah, I don't know. I hope it just stays to bylaws, like just cities regulate it. Like our bylaws suck, but they're reasonable. Like 3 meters for colubrid maximum length, which is pretty damn good. 3 meters is what.
Yeah, I mean that's going to cover most of them.
Exactly. And pythons and boas is 2 meters. So that one's. I mean, that's what 7.5, 8 feet, right? So, like all my snakes,
you still get all your ball pythons, so
Yeah, but there's a lot of things that get over 8 feet, right? So,
that
one I don't love, and like lizards is a meter. That's a bylaw. Nothing over a meter, and so it's not great, but it's not terrible. Like to me, it's reasonable. It could be a lot worse.
Yeah, and like I said, it's here. It really is state to state. I mean, there's some states where, and the state I'm in, I'm very pleased with what we can do in terms of reptiles. Now, given there's going to be city ordinances where, we'll have to pay attention, but here it's like venomous. If it's venomous, you can have it. It's going to cost you just a $25 permit, and DNR needs to be able to look at your cage. That's kind of it. But rear fang venomous is iffy. You actually just have to check. And I've got a good list compiled already on what's cleared. It's basically whether or not they deem it truly harmful venomous or, because, for example, false water cobras, Barron's racers, paradise snakes, there's a lot of your boegas. I mean, all those are fine. Like we don't have to have any permit in Indiana to have those. But even if you did want something venomous, you could have it, relatively easy. In my opinion, it should probably be a little harder to get it, on that than what it is. But I do like that they at least have a process for rear fang. And because like in Illinois, it's no rear fang, period. Except the hog nose has the exclusion across the damn country. where nothing else. It's because they're small and cute, where everything Barons racers are like, I don't know. So they Illinois, it's a no go. Kentucky, it's currently a no go. However, we are talking right now with Kentucky DNR on helping them change their ordinances and to where rear fanged will be possible. And they're probably going to make like a white list that will be ever evolving, where they continue to add species that you can keep legally in Kentucky that are rear fang venomous. And believe it or not, that was not due to petition. That was not due to the hobby stomping its feet. That was DNR deciding that that's what they wanted to do for the keeper. And when and they had discussed this with a zoo in Kentucky, that the curator of the reptile department at that zoo happens to be a customer of ours that I talk to regularly. And as soon as he heard about it, he reached out to me. So then that connected us. And now I'm helping them kind of try to piggyback on Indiana's laws and open the door, for more keeping in Kentucky. So it's very encouraging to see a law moving that direction, because otherwise it's always the other way, when it comes to herp laws. So that's encouraging.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. We were trying to, so like this, an animal rights group here tried to is trying to get the province to update our restricted list and stuff, and then put into law like banning basically they say the one counselor said, oh no, we're not trying to ban reptile shows with non-for-profits, but it would, right? When you ban live animal demonstrations, you're banning a reptile show.
Yes.
So it's that kind of thing. And then they wanted to update other stuff that would make us keeping 20 or 30 animals probably illegal, or require some sort of extra hoops to jump through that really don't need to be jumped through, because there's actually not that many people keeping this many animals anyways. So we're definitely fighting that right now.
It's going to be an ongoing fight. And the sad part is we have to win every time. They only have to win once. You know what I mean? If they win once, the fight to get something overturned is 10 times harder than preventing it in the first place. And, then and again, it's one where I would rather be part of the laws that are being written than just being the one spanked with them later. And we do that by having these positive conversations with the individuals who are making these decisions. And unfortunately, though, it's usually what they're exposed to are the dumbass who let his cobra out, and you know what I mean, at a show or in a neighborhood, or stuff like that. And I mean, it's horrible looking on all of us, and it's so sensationalized. Now, we do have some things in our favor, and that's a lot of the individuals who are now in positions of authority, to a degree, depends on what age they are, but there's a good chunk of us in there, grew up with Steve Irwin, Jeff Corwin, Mark O'Shea. And so there's a different view on reptiles, across the globe than there were 30 years ago. And that helps on some of this. It's not always a knee-jerk reaction. But when we have individuals that are more in the 60s and above, they missed out on that. Below is certainly anybody in their 40s, or below, that was an influence. And it was one where even if you didn't become a reptile person, you knew who Steve Irwin was. And, it kind of put reptiles more in a different light, across the community. So I think that helps us to a degree, but we still have some firm opposition when it comes to like PETA and organizations like that.
Taking those skewed research papers from people who are not actually scientists
Yes.
that have
Yes.
done. Yeah.
Michael, I don't know if you know who Steve Irwin was because you're so young, but you need me to tell you who it is, or you good?
He
I
knows
know
his
who he
son
is.
at this point, right?
Well, I actually grew up with python hunters back in. I remember watching that when I was a kid, which I actually loved because it was
Oh
guys who
yeah.
were in the hobby but also
Oh
did
yeah.
the herping stuff. I actually kind of like that show. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good mix and positive and
It
not
I
was
thought it was
too
funny because you
over
had
the top.
friends, a group of friends doing this, and that always makes things, more entertaining, to say the least. So
it was all
yeah.
about having your VCR and your VHS cassettes, and whenever it would play, you'd pop it in, try to record it, and then you'd have all these ones all labeled about all the episodes. Then you
Oh
could just
yeah,
keep
Yep.
putting them back in.
That's right.
I probably watched it as a kid, as like an infant. I think I remember my parents saying that they used to watch it. So
Your
that's probably
parents
why I'm
probably
in this in the
watched it
first place.
before you were born.
Probably.
That had to be it.
So, Mike,
Oh
did you
yeah.
want to go into the whole pet shop thing? I know you said you wanted to go down that avenue a bit,
Uh,
or
well,
no?
now I'm not sure where to start with that. So, with the shop and how you transitioned from your at home hobby business, let's call it that kind of thing. What like it got you to realize that like, hey, I think I can do this, and I wanna try doing this. How did that kind of start, and how did you finally pull the trigger on a place to start it?
So it was a series of things. First, I wanted this since I was 6 years old. I mean, in fact, I told my wife, it may have been on one of our first dates back when I was 16. Because she reminded me whenever I opened this, she goes, when you were 16, you told me you were going to do this someday, and you just did it. So it's always been something I wanted. Now, no matter how much you want something, life usually isn't a straight path. It's twists, turns, curves, and basically where this came from was I always had snakes my entire life, and eventually our entire basement was snakes. And I was working I'd worked for the same company for 20 years. I was a multi-unit manager for a very, very large optical company. Um, and my primary role was I had several locations that I was responsible to make sure that they were hitting their numbers, were growing, the leaders were being developed, and I was building management teams, and I did that for a very long time, and I loved it, and I was good at it. I was good at developing people. I was good at reading trends, whether that be in numbers, whether that be in behaviors. I could, in kind of getting people to move in the directions that I needed them to move. That was where my skill set lied. Um, well, I would travel typically 4 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week. I was on the road, and finally, I was starting to. It was starting to wear on me, over time. I had 3 kids, and when 2020 came in and COVID came through, um, that grounded me for about 4 or 5 months, where I wasn't traveling. I was home. We were all home, and that did a couple things. One, I mean, it really showed me how much I'd been missing, with the kids. And it also, I'm so glad I went in this direction. Um, I didn't know whether or not I was going to breed anything at that point, because no one knew what was going to happen, right? I don't want to produce 500 babies and not be able to sell them. So, as bad as this sounds, I finally decided I'm going to go ahead and do it like normal, because if the world really does go to shit, I'm going to have king snake food for a while with all these babies that I'm about to hatch out. So, I went ahead and pulled the trigger on that. And then you go into the second half of 2020 and everyone's got their stimulus checks here in the US, and, all this is happening, and sales went through the roof. I mean, not only did they do well, but there was no bickering on price. It was just boom, 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 boom out the door. And so that was a very, very successful hobby year for me, in terms of funds. And then at work, it was also an incredibly successful year for the company and for my district. So bonuses were extraordinary. I mean, and so all this happened at once, which then gave me the financial means to be able to purchase the facility, and do this. Well, in my time with that company, I had 16 different people that I reported to as I went up through the ranks over the years. I got along great with 15 of them. The last one, not so much. And it was getting to a point where I'm like, okay, I think a change needs to be made. The collection had grown to a size where I'm on the road for 4 or 5 days, and then I'm in my snake room for a day and a half getting everything. And so it's like, okay, either I'm going to have to reduce the collection significantly, or I'm going to have to jump in with both feet. It's time to make that decision. Now, typically, anyone will tell you a pet store is a terrible business model. It is not what I'd recommend. But I knew what I wanted to do wasn't a pet store per se. My vision was different. I also knew that most people that fail at doing that are people who are strictly animal lovers and not business people. And luckily, I had the last 20 years of very strong business development, under my belt. I opened stores, I closed stores, I hired, I fired. I mean, we're talking, I'm recruiting doctors, I'm terminating doctors, everything in between. I'm scouting for new locations and, all of this. So I felt that I had a good foundation on both sides. The collection's already here. I know what I'm doing with that. I'm pretty good over here on the business side. I think we can make this work if we approach this with the 3-facet approach that I wanted to. And we pulled the trigger. It was finally all right, the family's going to have to make some adjustments, because I'm going to walk away from this very lucrative, successful career to roll the dice, on this reptile shop. And it's, it was, for the first 9 months, I didn't take a paycheck. And then I took just a little as far as, like an hourly pay, for long. And at this point, as far as my paychecks, I tell everybody, I pay myself $10 an hour. That's it. That's all I'm taking home out here right now. We're building this for long-term success. And so far, we're 3 years old and already have our second location. I'm going to put that in the win column, but that was what it boiled down to. Was we were going to build a house on some property that we own about 45 minutes away. And I said to the family, I said, look, right now we can either go build this new home and I'll get to live in it 2 days a week, or we can start this company and I can be home every night. Those are our options. And I also threw in, and if we do this company, that means all the snakes will leave the house. So it's almost like you're getting a new house because of all the room that's going to open up. So that was a selling point too. And that's what we did. That's when we pulled the trigger, and, we made it happen. And, don't get me wrong, there were bumps and hiccups along the way, and I've learned a whole lot. I remember one of the dumbest things I said in the beginning was I was talking to our ZooMed rep, David, and he was asking me about UVB bulbs. And I'm like, I don't think we'll need to carry those. idiot. I mean, because I was a snake guy and that was my mentality. And, you know, there was so much I still had to learn on, you know, the whole plethora. And I mean, I'm thinking rodents. And yeah, we sell a ton of rodents, but we sell twice as much in sales volume in bugs than we do rodents. I mean, lizards are where it's at when it comes to a, you know, any kind of reptile shop for, you know, weekly, you know, incomes. So yeah, that was it. It was just in the three facet approach that, you know, we take is you have your local, so you have your shop, which is going to be your retail. And with retail, one of the mistakes I always thought that shops made when it came to reptiles, they try to hit home runs where it's okay if you can buy a Mexican black king snake for $150 at a show. Why in the hell is this shop trying to sell it for 450? You know what I mean? You can't do that. And so that was one thing that that's going to be it is at the shop, you will see our pricing is breeder pricing. That's what you pay for the animals is breeder pricing. And it helps that 85% of what we sell, we produce ourselves. But I also tell that whenever I'm buying from somebody, if they're selling to me wholesale, I tell them right up front, I guarantee you can make more money selling these to someone else. I promise you. Because in order for me to purchase it, I've got to purchase it at a price where I'm able to sell it at breeder price. Not what it's listing for on Morph Market, you know, whatever. Breeder price is what I have to sell it for. So that was one. And so having the local market. Number two was regional shows. You know, we'd already planned on that because then you can go get income that's outside of your typical store range just by traveling a little bit and basically taking the store to them, you know, for a day. And then the third was our online presence. And those really are three completely different markets. What sells in the shop doesn't necessarily sell at shows. And from one show to another, you're going to have different markets. And there are going to be things that I'm never going to sell in the shop because it's an online type of sell. Prasinum, green bush rat snakes. Those aren't going to sell in the shop. People love them, but it's the chance of me selling them here, very unlikely. I put them online. They're sold in a matter of hours, you know, when they're available. So having those three different facets are what's going to continue to help us be successful because we're not relying all on one avenue, one arena. And that's helped. It's gone a long way for us.
Nice. Yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how much difference it can make between doing the shows and having the shop as well as online sales because you obviously have that too. Mm-hmm. So with the shows, are you bringing dry goods to your local shows, or are you only doing animals? Mm-hmm. Okay,
doing dry goods. Like Tinley, we just do animals. Most of the shows we're traveling to now, we're taking dry goods to a degree. Nothing major, but enough where we've got representation of a lot of things, and we may expand that over time. I've had to purchase a second enclosed trailer because now we're catching ourselves doing two shows the same day. And if we're going to do that, I want to be able to take dry goods to both, and it helps. And I mean, dry goods are nice because they don't die, they don't shit, they don't eat. I mean, those are nice, And for us, what we do is we put them on rolling racks. We saran wrap them.
Oh, yeah.
And so you're just rolling them in, rolling them off. And I mean, it's set. It's ready to go. You're not having to put it out and then clean all the delis where something's crapped on the ride in and all that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what my buddy does. Well, with the out-of-town shows, since he sells cages and dry goods, he'll ship pallets out. So if he's going to Winnipeg or he's coming here or he's going to Toronto, he's shipping 3-4 pallets out.
Yeah.
And he's hoping he only has to ship like one pallet back. Because most of it is pre-sale. Like with that stuff being one of there's multiple cage companies up here, but still he has a good amount of pre-sale where he can send 3-4 pallets out, and then maybe he can just wholesale out the leftovers to shrink it down or not even bring anything back. And then his local shows, he fills up the car hauler and drives it where he needs to go, kind of thing. with all
Nice.
the like the saran wrapped. Was it like? Isn't it like the those kitchen rack things just on
Baker
wheels?
racks. Mm-hmm.
Yep, yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
And then you got
absolutely.
the one big cage of cork. That's
Oh
the
yeah.
most annoying one because it just sinks right into the the floor where you're at. Uh, but yeah,
Yep.
no,
It works though.
oh yeah, I think he has the best part of the business because he doesn't actually have a real storefront, and he sells PVC cages too, and makes his
Nice.
own PVC cages. So it's like him possibly. I can see him working in that direction because now he's starting to sell feeders and stuff. So I like he probably should have a more of a display front for his shop, even if it's not a full on reptile shop, because
Mm-hmm.
I could see him selling some animals because he has a collection of animals at the shop, even as not really a full on pet shop. Like he has his nice painted agamas, and he got some black tree monitors, and has his couple
Nice.
chondros and some actual good displays. Like he keeps his couple ball pythons and 3x2x2 enclosures that are nicely set up and stuff. So as a shop, it would be cool to have like an actually in store shop to sell PVC cages at, being like, well,
Oh
you can
yeah.
do this right here, and here's a
Mm-hmm.
thermostat, here's this, you're set to go. And I almost think like he doesn't need that many animals necessarily in a storefront if he were to do that.
It's you want them there to be the draw. I mean, that's like here. I mean, we have everything, and we are reptile specialty. I mean, there's no birds, there's no fish, there's
Yeah,
no dogs. If it's got fur here, it's a feeder. I mean, that's that's it. So, and out here we've got a tortoise pen. A large area with our tortoises roaming. We have a massive bearded dragon enclosure where it's not even enclosed; it's open. Where I mean, I'm able to just reach in and grab Sriracha. That's our resident. He is probably at this point the most popular reptile in the tri-state area. I kid you not. He's huge. He's red. He's gorgeous. And he became so popular that the first time we had a clutch with him as the father, I was being bombarded with people that, as soon as they're ready, I want one, I want one. So I had to make an announcement that at 7 p.m. on this Friday, they will go live on the website. So that way everyone had their chance. And I kid you not, we sold like 25 of them in 4 minutes. I mean, just that's how fast his baby, and these are like $250 a piece bearded dragons. Boom,
oh
boom,
yeah,
boom, 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 boom. So, but and his cage is like 3 foot by 8 foot by about 3 foot tall. And so people are able to just walk up and look at him, and it's all decked out. It's beautiful. But we have that. We have a turtle pond inside with albino red ear sliders in it, chameleons on display, a rhino rat snake on display. So it's, and then we probably have somewhere around 80 animals on the floor for sale. But it's that's the animals are what people come to look at. That's what brings them into the building, and then the purchases happen after that. So yeah, I would say he's going to want to have some animals out there because you want people to come in even when they're just bored. Even if they're out there to buy something, just bored. Hell, we even have a sitting area right in the middle where it's a couch, a love seat, a couple chairs, a table. There's a TV right behind that. Usually there's a podcast or something being played on, and because we wanted a place in the store where people who just wanted to come and be, just simply be in the environment, to just come and hang out, and that's what it's for. We've got people who will come in and sit there and eat their lunch just to
yeah,
hang out at the shop. So
for sure. Yeah, I know I don't. He's definitely not locked into doing it yet, but I think I see him going in that way, even if he's not. Like obviously, there's other shops in Calgary and stuff, so it's how it is. But I picture him like I think he should have a shop just based on his already having a client base for the last 10 years of doing
mm-hmm.
what he's doing and he's already going to reptile shows and selling all that stuff and doing it. Like you might as well have a good storefront, but
Mm-hmm.
he'll have to decide on that himself because what he's doing right now is pretty good because he only has to have a couple employees and when people show up occasionally to the shop, it's one of those employees I should be making cages is now having to deal with a customer that may or may not even buy anything.
Right.
So that
Oh,
is
it's
tricky too.
different when you open to the public. I mean, it's the overhead jumps.
Yeah.
It's also, if you're going to be a true shop, truly responsible, meaning when you set your hours, you're there. There is no, oh, I overslept and you open an hour. No, it's you are there. You don't close 40 minutes early because it was slow that day. No, your hours are posted. It's just like any other business. You're there. You're
Oh
open.
yeah.
It's the expenses jump. When you have that kind of overhead, there's no doubt about it.
Oh yeah.
So you alluded to not having animals at home anymore. You still have no animals?
The only reptiles we have at home are a pair of Oregon red spotted garters, and I have those simply because my one of my sons is definitely the reptile lover of my children. They all, like, when they come, they'll grab something and play with it, but he's hardcore about it. And he was, I want a snake, I want this, and I'm like, you've got 1,200 snakes that you can go play with at the shop. But I realized what I was taking away from him by me having that mentality, because I grew up with snakes in my room that I could just walk over and pluck out of the cage anytime I wanted, and the feeding them, the taking care of them, the naming them, the breeding them. So I relented and was like, yeah. And so we decked him out a cage, and he's got a nice little setup and has him a pair of garters that I have to remind him to feed all the time.
Very
So,
nice.
Yeah, garters
So
are a great snake too, right? Because they're active, they're gonna move around,
mm-hmm.
and when they
Yep.
feed, it's gonna be like fun to watch, and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
Like those Oregon red spotteds are
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. Like even just the normal, was it the Fitch eye and the Puget Sounds up here?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're beautiful. Just a nice yellow with some black and then some red
Yeah.
dots on them. They
It,
just
it,
look good.
I'm going to tell you what, garters are a niche that is extremely underrepresented in the hobby. I mean, whenever I do the market analysis and look and see of all the colubrids that are listed, when you've got hognose making up upwards of 40% of all colubrid species listed for sale, and you've got garters at 1%. House snakes, less than 1% of all colubrids that are listed. There's such an enormous amount of growth that is there. And that's just what's listed. I mean, that doesn't say, oh, well, no one's working with garters. That tells you the ones that are working with garters typically don't even have to list them. They sell before they ever have to put them up for sale. And so, I mean, that's, I keep giving that advice to anyone that, if you're looking for a species that can be successful with, and no one else is playing in your sandbox right now, garters and house snakes are it for sure.
Oh yeah, I know. My buddy definitely he breeds his blue-eyed house snakes every year,
Oh,
even if they don't go for as much up here as they do down there. He's like it's a purple snake. Like somebody's gonna
mm-hmm.
somebody's gonna want him kind of thing. And I know he's gotten back into garters too. Like he has a pair of albino like chapalas, and he used to
Mm-hmm.
have the checkers and stuff, but then got out of them because people weren't really interested. And now he's like, I kind of want those again.
Yeah.
Because
Well, and I'll
people are
tell
now.
you, that's one of the good things for you guys up there is, if the market's not there in Canada, it's probably somewhere down here.
Yeah,
And you just hook up with somebody, you're going to be able to send all your babies down. There's no doubt.
exactly.
That's how, because prior to really having to pay attention to global markets, I wasn't incredibly familiar with what Canada's market was. But that's when I learned that it's a much softer Asian rat snake market up there, because there'd be a couple people that were really into them, would breed a bunch of them, and then send them all down my way because they just didn't move up there. And I mean, that was okay with me. It worked in
Yeah,
my favor. But um, yeah, like I said, I don't know what is popular, up there, other than my
yeah, it's
guess is
definitely.
ball pythons.
Well, yeah, we definitely have those at our shows,
Yeah.
but we seem to do well with our the couple tables that do have selected variety, it's the tables that seem to sell the most, kind of thing, like you
Good.
said. And do you find water snakes to be that same as the garters kind of thing? Because I know we bring up some from Chris, because Chris sends
Uh-huh.
Tyrone a list every year, and he usually buys some, and they're awesome. Although I'm not, after having to clean them myself at Tyrone's shop, they definitely want to bite and poop on you and run
Oh
away.
yeah. Oh yeah.
That was fun.
So they're not, the market is very soft on those from a general standpoint, unless you're Chris Montross. I mean, because, again, almost any species, if you can have hardcore locality data on it, people are interested. That automatically bumps up the value, it and it's fun. Like Chris and I, I love him so much. We have fun. We really do. We have fun on yellow rat snakes and greenish rat snakes. So oh man, I tick him off so bad when I say that. So, um, I'll tell you a story on Chris and localities. So, um, the moonshine rat snake it's from Ori, South Carolina, is where it originated, and a lot of people say that in that area it's an intergrade zone between a black rat snake and a yellow rat snake, and they call those greenish rat snakes. And Chris hates that. He is adamant that no, those are yellow rat snakes. It's a yellow rat snake. It should not be called a greenish rat snake. That's just a trade name people have given to it. And to be honest with you, he's probably right. I mean, he's, the locality yellow rat snake guy. I mean, so I have no reason to argue with him other than it's fun. And he says, so he and again, he and I really love each other. So this is not, he, during a conversation, he makes that point to me. It's a trade name. I said, okay, Chris, so you're saying a yellow rat snake is a yellow rat snake is a yellow rat snake, right? And anything else other than that, it's just us giving it a label for the trade. He's like, yes. And I go, so why do you differentiate your localities if a yellow rat snake is a yellow rat snake is a yellow rat snake? And he just smiled at me because honestly, I fully see the relevance in locality data. Don't get me wrong. It's not me saying that it doesn't matter. But at the same time, it's not like, a snake goes up to the county line and is like, nope, can't screw anything on that side of the line. It doesn't work like that. So, he gets it. And so it was funny to both of us, you know what I mean? That, locality is just a trade name then, if you want to get technical. But no, God, Chris is so funny. He's so smart. He, really, the incredible backstory he can give you to the animals makes it's hard to not want to keep those animals when you're hearing this, from him. Where he collected them, the differences he sees in this locality versus that locality. And I do feel that because of Chris, water snakes are getting a better shake in the hobby, than what they were before. They are still lower on, you don't see them as readily. You'll see like one or two species here and there at shows, unless you're at a show that Chris is at and he's got several and they look amazing, so
Oh yeah.
it's waters kind of get lumped into the garter range a bit because so much of their care is going to be similar, especially when they're small. Their behaviors are going to be pretty similar. So a lot of times when I say garter, I'm kind of lumping that in my mind.
Okay.
But if we do differentiate them out, then yeah, they are even less represented than what the garters are for sure.
I don't think
Yeah,
I've ever seen a water snake for sale at a reptile show. Like never.
mm.
I'm
Yeah,
not surprised. The further north you go, I can completely see that. For us, I mean, like here in Indiana, it's every snake I see in the wild is either a black rat snake or a water snake, just depending where I'm at. So, I see them in the wild constantly, but I do see them occasionally at shows.
All we see in the wild is the water snake or a garter snake. That's pretty much the two snakes I see all the time here. So, yeah, Even garters at shows, you sometimes see some, but they're far and few in between.
Yeah. Well, I think in a lot of like what Chris works with are like more southern species. And
Yeah.
you'll have, that's where you get some of this really pretty coloration that's popping too, which obviously would make those more desirable, and different sizes. I mean, the different species, they get the different.
Oh yeah, I was surprised how
Um,
big some of those Florida bandits got. He's like, oh yeah, they get
oh
like
yeah,
4.5, 5 feet, and they're like, it's like, oh
oh yeah.
wow, I thought they were small. Like I know, so here in BC, we're not allowed to actually keep any garter snakes, no Thamnophis at all. So that's why waters are like the only option for us if we want like a. I know Chris doesn't love people keeping them in like a naturalistic, like half water, half land setup, but I've
Mhm,
actually seen some people get away with it and not have any issues. But they got the
mhm,
they got the dry land, and then they got
mhm.
the heat lamp kind of thing, so they can dry out and they breathe. They do, and
Yes.
they're super cool, right? Like you get as you get with the garters, you got that with the waters. So that's like our only option if we want something along that line, which is why Ty brings them up, because he knows he can bring them to BC and he can bring them to other places that might
That makes
not be
sense.
allowed to sell garters, kind of thing.
We'll tell him next time he's getting something from Chris to ask Chris if he's got any greenish rat snakes,
Uh,
and just be
I'll
prepared for
definitely.
that tirade.
I won't tell him about him getting tyrated. I'll just tell him to get greenish.
Tell him you really, really want greenish rat snakes. You've heard great things about them.
Oh, that'll be hilarious. With so obviously you deal like a lot with Asian rat snakes too,
Mhm.
and that's like been a big part of your collection. I assume part of that is because you're good friends with Matt Most and that. What?
That friendship came from me getting into Asian rats and really liking them, and then reached out to purchase something from him. And at that time, we realized we only lived about 2.5 hours from each other. We met halfway, and I mean, we just hit it off. Been really good friends ever since.
Oh yeah,
So,
I remember listening. Actually, on the way to get my Kentucky Pines, I haven't told Zach this, but the when I got my first pair was on a road trip, and I listened to the first ever Colubrid Colubroid radio like show on that
mhm.
road trip out to Alberta during COVID, and coming back with them. So that was cool, because that was like the first show as I'm going out to get that and listening to that on the way
Nice.
there. That's like a cool kind of tie-in for timeline kind of
It
thing.
was, yeah, that was great. I mean, whenever I talk about the show to people, because a lot of times, like I'm telling people that haven't heard of it, or they're into colubrids or getting into colubrids, and it's like it's such a resource. Colubrid and colubroid radio is, if there's a species you want to learn about, or something like that, there's so much to learn. And I'm telling them that, yeah, it may sound like I'm just trying to hype up this show because I'm a co-host. No, I was a fan long before I was asked to come on board with it. And to this day, I still go back and listen to every single episode that we put out, because I feel like I miss things at times whenever I'm on it. Like I may pick it up, but if I go back through and listen again, one, I can find any, little idiosyncrasies that, I want to try to fix going forward. But it gives me a chance to fully listen without any distraction to the guest, without me having to think or respond, just absorb. And I mean, we have some really, really smart people on there that
Oh yeah.
teach me so many things. And there's times I've gone back to episodes, before I was ever on Alterna. I go back and listen to Lassiter's episode, because that's like my hot cake right now is gray band king snakes. I'm in love with these things. And, I want to try to do the best I can with them. So I've gone back to that episode a time or two. And, it's same. Go back and think, that they pulled me on as their first guest, way back then, and
Oh
to
yeah.
where we're at with it today. It's wild. Colubrid Fest, the conservation fund. I mean, everything that's rolled out from it since is just amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Do you find that doing the podcast has helped you either for the shop, the shows, etc. Like, is this really an avenue that has really made everything more? I don't want to use profitable, but let's just say expanded, increased.
100%. There's no doubt about it that it's helped me out significantly because, I mean, whenever they first asked, hey, can you come on and guest co-host? My mind was, okay, so let me get this straight. You want me to come on to my favorite podcast and bullshit about my favorite kind of snakes and get to say my business name over and over and over again to a national audience? Well, let me think it over. You know what I mean? It's absolutely, I'm all for it. And it absolutely has helped us because the show has like grown exponentially, in the past couple years. We've had people come from California to visit the shop, Utah, Minnesota, and they weren't coming because of what we do at reptile shows. They're coming because of the podcast. They've heard about it and they want to see it. And so it's absolutely helped there. At shows, yes, people come up to me all the time to talk about the podcast, to ask about Colubrid Fest, things like that. So it's been huge. And I also see whenever someone puts an order through online, two things happen a lot that really make me feel good. One, in the notes section, someone will say something like, really love the show, yada, yada. And I'm like, that's great. Or I have a discount code, CC Radio, that, I mention on every episode. And so when someone uses that discount code, I see it and I know that's, one of our listeners purchasing something. And so, yeah, there's no doubt. In fact, had a conversation with a ZooMed rep at an IHS, and this was the IHS year ago, so not in 2025, the one in 2024. And he asked how things were going at the shop, and I said, we're doing very well. Things are moving at a good pace, and we're really beating our comp numbers and things like that. And he goes, "Man, you seem to be like the only one right now," because all the other shops that he would go to regularly seem to have been struggling at that same time. And I go, well, I can tell you one of the biggest differences is we have national marketing, with the podcast. It's not just what I'm doing locally. It's, people are hearing the Metazotics name across the country and across the freaking world. I mean, when we got notified that we're now in over 100 countries, I couldn't list 100 countries. You know what I mean? I'm the dumb one though, so, but I mean, it's just amazing, that it's gone that far. But yeah, it certainly helped us out. And, I'm so grateful that it came about when it did. So it made a big difference.
Well, ZooMed's going to have to start sponsoring the show as well. Because obviously you're sponsored by Exoterra, but ZooMed stuff sells too because people like their cages in a different way, kind of thing, right? So
ZooMed is a great company, and yeah, it's funny you say that.
Yeah, I know up here, like especially with ZooMed, like Exoterra's everywhere, Hagen's everywhere, because like I know my local pet store that I used to work for, that's a mom and pop shop kind of thing. They don't even really have ZooMed because I guess it's the same ZooMed rep as Northern, like the P&W for the U.S. as well, and he just doesn't really make it up here, kind of thing, and he doesn't even go to Alberta too much unless he's kind of in town for the show. So that's kind of tough with that. Like I think they would sell it. So I think ZooMed needs to maybe extend. There's a really good rep out in Ontario, I think, that actually goes up to Winnipeg, and technically his border stops there. But I think he would do fantastic if they just got him to come all the way out west. Tons of people would buy from him or put orders in, kind of thing.
I'll tell you what, when it comes to a lot of the bigger companies, I'm very happy with how they've treated us, the relationships that they've built with us. I mean, ZoomEd has been great. My rep here, David, is fantastic. ZoomEd always gives us product for our anniversary events to route. We don't route. It's every hour we do a giveaway, and from opening on, ZoomEd is taking care of us like that. Exoterra is obviously fantastic with us. We've got a great relationship with them. And I mean, they same thing. We've got one of their brand new enclosures that's redesigned. They sent one to us for us to build out and make a video on. And it's going to look fantastic. Fly in here, drive me nuts. And Arcadia, Reptile Basics. I mean, they have been wonderful. Reptile Basics specifically, who is the North American distributor for Arcadia. They have Rich, who owns that company, Vivarium Electronics. I mean, they do our Metazotics caging. That's who fabricates the Metazotics PVC caging for us, and has been great. So all those companies, there's products of theirs that I just love, use, value. And I can tell you from someone who deals with these people directly, they're really good people. They really are. And I mean, really, really help. They too often we just think when we see these big company names that it's all commercial, and we don't realize how much they're actually ingrained into keeping in the industry and the hobby. And they really are. They're really, really good people.
Oh yeah, actually, that one thing I found out about that one ZoomEd rep in Ontario, he keeps sailfin dragons and breeds them.
Nice.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know anybody kept those in Canada. And it's like, and then one of my buddies is like, "Oh yeah, look what he bred," and it's like,
that's awesome.
That's insane.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool.
That was super cool. So it's really neat and just like how I think most of the people in this hobby are genuinely like really good guys if you get to know them, kind of thing. And they mean well. And then eventually, like I found a group of friends now that I want to just be at every show with them, kind of thing. Just hang out, stay up till 2:00 in the morning, and then do it again the next day, kind of thing. And
you want to do that now. When you're in your 40s, you don't want to do that anymore.
Oh, they're in their 40s.
It's hard for me to stay up past 9. So I mean,
oh yeah, I'm the one trying to keep up with them. But no, they're great guys, and it's awesome. It's just like a great hobby that you kind of find your friend group, and sometimes it's not what you expect, kind of thing. In terms of like my like Dominic's another. I would consider him a good friend now too, where you're in that maybe you're in that mid to late 40s to early 50s, and we all just get along, and I don't know how old you are. I'm referring to other friends.
I'm 44.
Oh, 43 over here.
You'd be the youngest out of all those.
Did you say 33?
43.
Oh, okay, there you go. Damn,
you think, damn, you got some miles on you. No, you see all that right there? That's right.
Yeah, I got enough white hair.
I'm 20. I think I'm 24 this year.
Yeah, you're the age of my son. That's
I'm still 23.
Just a pop.
It's an awesome hobby.
Yeah, it definitely is.
You become friends with their kids that are just at the end of high school, and you know that those guys are going to be the next generation, because they're maybe not all the kids are going to follow their parents, but there's always one that's
right.
It's always going to kind of carry that on, kind of thing, which is super neat. And they like a different thing than what their dad or mom's doing, kind of thing. So it's super cool to see the hobby like evolve and grow.
Yep, I agree.
So going back to the podcast, I just want to pass a comment on there. So I don't keep colubrids or colubroids. I've kept maybe one or two past like 30 years ago. That being said, your show is one of the ones that I'll say I always listen to at least the first 40 minutes. And there's a reason for that, because the first 40 minutes, it's always you're rambling about you guys. And I've always found it, and I don't mean that as a way to demean it. It's probably the most interesting things. And I love how you guys always have the first 40 minutes to you guys, I don't know how you make your guest wait 40 minutes on the sideline. I'll be honest with you. I almost feel guilty if we talk for 5 minutes because, like, you can see the guest is there, just like arms crossed, waiting, So you guys go about 40 minutes every time on the first show, and it's always, to be, for me anyway, it's the most interesting part of the show. So I've always enjoyed that whole section of it, and I think it's really, really cool. The second section, I listen to it if it interests me enough or if the guest interests me enough. I'll be honest, sometimes I don't, but always the first 40 minutes every single time, just because I find that's something that you guys do that a lot of other podcasts don't do. And I love that you guys have kind of made your own little thing and just ran with it. And I think it really is working for you guys.
I really, really appreciate you saying that, because so it's funny in the fact that it's 40 minutes, because it's like 42, like almost on the dot. We watch it
Every
and
time.
we try to make sure that, because we don't like it going past 45. That's like our limit, and so it's usually right at that 42 mark is where it closes down. What we do is we tell our guests that most of them already know, that they've listened, they have an idea on what it's going to be. But we tell them, look, for like this first 40 minutes, we can see you. And so like, if you have to get up and go do something, we're not going to jump over to you and you not there. We'll keep, we'll go further if we had to, which has never happened. But we go, if you got to go use the restroom, if you want to get a drink, if you want to go eat, whatever you want to do, go for it. It's going to be right about this time is when it'll be, live. We just want to make sure that all the audio and video is working, beforehand. But most of the time they sit there, listen, we can see their reactions to what we're doing. But you telling us that, it's so funny, because one, you're not the first person to say that to us. Billy Sven, who was one of our guests, the one on ethical, the ethical keeping and that kind of, who fantastic guest. He had told us the same thing, because he doesn't keep any colubrids. And he said, he always listens to that first part. And the reason that is so important to us to hear is like when we have a monthly Patreon call with one of our levels of Patreon, where we ask these questions. We look for feedback on things we either need to do more of, less of, change, and we have been very nervous about our opening because of how long it takes. It's almost half the show right there. And it's like, are we just running our mouths too much? Do you still want the science update? Do you still want the market update? Is it, back and forth? And it's always been a resounding yes. That's what they want. And there's people who have said that same thing, that they always listen to that, or they'll even say, there's a lot of shows that we fast forward through the beginning until it gets to the, the guest or whoever. They're like, not that one. And it's good, because believe me, we're always very nervous that's, are we just too much right now, on this. But it seems, I think the feedback we've got has suggested the two of us are doing something that a lot of the audience is interested in. Not, they would either like to do it, or they may see it as, I could never do that, but it's always been kind of that thing that maybe that would be cool to do, is one, have a reptile shop. So many people have thought of it and then thought, no, maybe that part's not for me, but it's still nice to kind of think about. And then you have the other side where, he's got a research facility, he's got, these labs and the field work. And so it's between the two of us. It sounds like, those are two paths that a lot of people in the industry would like to hear more about. And so I guess that's why. But yeah, I really, really appreciate that, Dominic, because that means a lot to us, because we always feel like maybe we just need to shut the hell up because we talk too much in the beginnings.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy that pre-chat as well. I love the guests too, though. Like I definitely listen the whole way through every single time. I'm always listening until it ends, because I'm usually working too. So like, I think during your first live, I was finally at a site that actually had good Wi-Fi, or I mean, good cell reception. So it's
Mhm.
like 6 o'clock. It was like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock at night here, and I'm just packing drywall sheets and fire stopping by myself late at night in a house, and get to listen to you guys, which is fun because like sometimes like not there's not too many lives. Like Smitty does the live, but then it's at like a late time, and for the past while I've been on sites where it's pretty terrible cell reception. So even if I wanted to,
Mhm.
it'd be like gotta hope this podcast downloads on here, or else
Yeah.
I'm or else I'm in silence.
Well, we just kind of decided that, I mean, one, we wouldn't have been doing the lives if we didn't have Max, because, I mean, Zach and I are not technologically savvy at all. You know, Max handles all that. But we looked at it as, you know what, if we're recording all these episodes, and we're typically now we were recording at the same day and time, you know, every other week. Um, let's just do it live. I mean, why not? You know, the people who can't make the live, they're going to listen to it at their regular time of listening to it, you know, whenever they could during work or travel or whatever. But one thing we are cognizant of and want to remain cognizant of, the bulk of the listeners of our show do so via like Spotify or Apple, or they're listening, not so much watching. You know, there's a good amount that watch it, but it's still much more of a listening, you know, show.
Yeah,
And we don't want to start to lose, you know, that the interest on that side. So when we're live, you know, yeah, we'll acknowledge the chat, and if there's questions that are relevant, you know, they're going to throw in and we're going to answer them. But we don't want to do a whole lot of back and forth just with, you know, saying hey to this person or that person, because
yeah,
for the person who's listening to it 6 days later in their car, it's like, come on, you know what I mean? Let's get to, you know, whatever we're
oh
going to
yeah,
talk about, and we want to make sure that we don't do that. We don't want to lose, you know, anyone. So it's while we're going to continue with the live format, um, it'll still feel just like any other CCR episode, you know, before. Just maybe I'm hoping, if anything, we just get the occasional questions that we weren't expecting that pop in, because we always like that. We like to just be
exactly.
taken in directions we weren't anticipating. So
Yeah, that's what I like. I think when I listen to either whether it's Smitty or now you guys, because usually when Carpets and Coffee is on, it's at a time that I'm still at work, and it's
mhm.
was so irregular that like you never knew when it was going to be on. Like if you guys pick a date and do it, then it's like Snakes and Stogies, where it's like, okay, every Monday night at 6, it's going to be there, and it's going
Yep,
to be
yep,
awesome. And you can like if you want to, you can tune in. Like I generally don't watch it even as a listener. Like
mhm.
I'm cleaning snakes, or maybe I'm
Yeah,
driving home and I just kind of turn it on and I'm listening to it still like it's a podcast. But then if I really want to say something, I can put in a
right,
little
right.
comments or something, right? So
Mhm.
that's how I kind of see it as.
Yeah, and that's kind of how, I mean, we want everyone to treat it. It's absorb it whatever way is best for you, you know, however you want to hear it, however you want to like it. And you know, if there's ever feedback, shoot it to us, because we love that. You know, if you think it's great, great, tell us that. If you think it's terrible, even better, tell us that, because we've got thick skin, and I mean, we want to, at this point, we want to do this for the listeners. It's, if there's something that needs to be changed, altered, or added, that's what we want to hear, because it's it's becoming such a useful tool for so many when it comes. It's weird, because I honestly feel that where we're at as a society now, podcasts are the probably the most trusted form of media out there. I mean, we don't trust the news anymore. It's reading things on the internet. It's 50-50 on, you know, what you're hearing, what you're seeing. And with especially long form podcasts, it's not a sound bite. It's not, you know, a 5 second, 10 second thing where you're wondering, you're taking something out of context. You have this full explanation. I mean, if you think about how powerful, you know, podcasts have come, and I just said this, you'll hear the same thing on NPR's episode that we just did. I mean, we've had people get out of prison because of podcasts, because of the investigation that's taken place. The first season of Serial, that podcast, that individual is now free because of that podcast. I mean, so it's really, they've become so powerful, and the tools that the knowledge, there are things that you'll hear in episodes of, whether it's CCR or, others, you're going to hear things from these individuals who are working with whatever species that are so in tuned with them. It's not in a book somewhere. It's not in a magazine. You can't Google it. These are behaviors that this individual who works with them every day is sharing. And so they've become a massive resource. And that's why we continue to want to do things that the audience is asking for, because we want to continue to be, it's almost like a library at this point,
Exactly.
and continue to expand on that. So that's how
I
I treat it.
Oh yeah. I still listen to NPR episodes from 2015, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they never get old. You can go back and re-listen.
The audio is painful, though. Insanely painful.
I don't know. I think it's fine.
No, it's fine. It's like,
I'm listening to it for the content.
You hear everything in there the whole time. It's
although every time I hear that Tool song, I'm like, and start. That's always funny. You hear that one, the NPR intro songs, and you're like, and it's Eric Burke and Owen McIntyre.
And they've had a couple of weird
hilarious
little intros. I'm glad they decided to come back on. They took a little break for a long time, and we should be having Eric on soon enough. I think in a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
Good.
Kind of looking forward to him. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Real good guy.
All right, Clint. Really, really appreciate you coming on. Before we close out the show, Michael, did you have another question or anything else you wanted to hit up? Because we're at 2 hours and 15, and I'm old and I work at 5 a.m., so I've only got like 5 hours of sleep left. So is anything...
I think anything else that we hit on, we can hit on a future episode, because we'll definitely have to have Clint on, or maybe we'll eventually go on their podcast kind of thing. But yeah, for sure, we definitely need a Clint Bartley part 2. Because we barely even hit snakes in general, and we just talked shop, but that was awesome. And I think I had a great time, and I think Dominic also had a pretty good time listening to Clint.
Oh yeah, hey, I had a great time, and I'll be happy to come back anytime you guys want to have me.
Oh, awesome. Clint, huge thank you. And do you want to plug a couple of your things from your podcast to your shop? Here's the time where you can say Metazotics a couple of hundred times.
You got it. Well, as we were saying, if you haven't listened to Colubrid and Colubroid Radio, please do so. And you'll probably hear about Colubrid Fest. We didn't talk really about that, but that's something I'll absolutely tell you to look into, because it is an amazing event. And if you need supplies, if you're wanting a new reptile, please check out metazotics.com. I want to say we've got over 400 animals listed on there right now. And then every supply that you could think of or need. And if you do get anything, use coupon code CC Radio at checkout. Save yourself 5%.
Very nice. So for myself, Dominic Cabano on Facebook, or Dom's Reptiles on Instagram. For Michael Gillen, simply Michael Gillen on Facebook. For Reptile Rejects, anywhere you're listening to, it is on YouTube. It is on all the other podcast streaming platforms. Click subscribe. Click those little happy thumbs up button. All those other little thingies that can help us. We do appreciate it. Again, Clint, from the both of us, we really, really appreciate you coming on. And if you don't mind just staying in the background for a couple of minutes, it should fully upload right after. And to everyone else, thank you very much, and have yourself a great night, guys.